Welcome to Health Tech Heroes, where we talk to innovators who are rewriting the DNA of healthcare. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Barry Granek, a healthcare leader with over 20 years of experience in behavioral health systems and care models. Barry currently serves as Vice President at Coordinated Behavioral Care, where he has led transformational projects impacting thousands of lives annually. Beyond his expertise in scaling care programs, Barry is a clinician deeply attuned to the human element of healthcare. Join us as we dive into Barry's journey, his contribution to CBC, and his vision for the future of health tech and behavioral care. Barry, welcome to Health Tech Heroes.
Asa, it's great to be here with you today.
It's 100% my pleasure to have you here, Barry. Your career spans over 2 decades in behavioral healthcare. Can you share your personal origin story? What drew you to this field, and was there a pivotal moment that solidified your passion for improving people's life through healthcare?
Oh, yeah. Appreciate the question. In hindsight, there probably were more recurring, incremental decisions and points that led me to where I am. Thinking back, I can now see how I followed that pathway to exactly where I need to be right now. I'm not sure in foresight I would have necessarily imagined being here exactly. Growing up, behavioral health, mental health it certainly was something that I thought was accepted. I felt that way. And my own experience was positive and helpful. Yet I kind of had the feeling, even if it wasn't always articulated, that there was something that maybe was missing or at least could have been done better, particularly for a lot of people who maybe don't necessarily fit the box of talk therapy, need something a bit more out of the box, flexible. There was like an itch that needed to be scratched to really try to understand people, what helps people feel better, get over hurt or sadness or whatever they may be going through. And so as I was growing up, I was really interested in understanding like what makes people who they are and how we can help people be their best selves, live their best lives, and feel good in their day to day. I wouldn't necessarily say working with people was always easy for me. However, in college, I had put myself into that position and really felt like I was in the right place. The feeling I had, the reward reinforced itself. And so at each point, every decision that I made to move deeper and deeper into the field I was drawn in naturally. So I went, after I finished my undergrad, I went to graduate school at Johns Hopkins for a master's degree in clinical community counseling. I was really interested in both the clinical side and the community side to mental health. And I also started working in what to me was very formative experience in supported employment, where my role was to help individuals with severe mental health challenges obtain competitive employment. And our organization, St. Luke's House, had an 80% success rate. And these were some of the individuals with some really complex behavioral health symptoms and needs. And that's a really significant number for those in the field would really recognize to be able to work. And I think it really helped me from the very beginning understand the possibility and to get into the field with a sense of hope and optimism. What can people achieve with the right type of support? So a lot of experiences over the way, and I can't believe I'm here where I am today.
That has been a meaningful and, as you said, incremental development where you are now. But I heard you used a word where you need to be. A lot of people would say that, hey, this is where I want to be. It's a privilege for me to be here. But you used a statement which I've not very often or I've pretty much never heard, that you need to be here. Can you elaborate why you need to be here?
Yeah, this feels like my mission. I mean, from my gut, from my sort of mind, body, and soul, I just know can really sense that I'm in the right place. Again, it wasn't always like this is where I want to go, or this is where I know I'm going to be ending up. It was a bit of an adventure to get here, yet I can pretty confidently say that I just intuitively have been drawn at each phase of my life and each part of my career. And there's been twists and turns as anyone would probably experience, some subtle, some sudden, some intense, some, I'm not saying that none were decisive or intentional. It's just like in my therapy practice, I get a lot of people that are grappling, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, am I doing the right thing? And that's a really good question everyone probably should be asking. And a lot of times it's not a logical answer. It's like, and when people try to use their intellect to figure that out. Sometimes they're successful, other times they're not. When they're not, my approach has been, let's kind of slow down and go inside ourselves. Like, what's really your heart drawing you to? And so therefore, I suppose I use the word need because this is what was meant to be. This is my mission.
That's a really good perspective. I think I've definitely faced the other side where I knew that this is not for me. There is a strong gut feeling. But right now, I have a feeling I am right where I want to be. I think the next step is for me to figure out where I need to be. And I think this is the path. I just have to develop that feeling. And I think this is where it's just that I spend more time what I'm doing right now. Perhaps this is where I need to be. You have been a clinician and you have been a leader. Why did you decide to navigate the complexity of behavioral health? I think it is one of the most complex topics. Health is complex. Behavioral health, we understand so little about it, the triggers and how to treat it. How this complex problem has shaped your career, has shaped your thought process, and why behavioral health specifically?
I think of, in our training, there's a lot of emphasis on empathy. That's a really sort of foundational skill for all helpers to really, not just in mental health, but to be able to, relate to the patient or the client. And I think a lot of people that choose behavioral health, and I consider myself in that category, is sort of attuned maybe to some of the hurt or the pain or the struggle that others go through. And I don't know, I just don't feel like I can not intervene or not help others. It's just something that, I don't know, my soul sort of yearns to ease people's pain. Um, and, we're unfortunately, I think a lot of people, maybe because they don't know what to do, often don't do anything. It's like sort of this indifference, maybe because they're not sure how to help. And I don't know, from a young age, I was really curious about like what it is that we can do to support people and to meaningfully create a more meaningful and productive lives for them. So it's really profound for me to sort of be able to spend my time doing that. And in some ways, like the question is like, it's a good question, but it's like, but what else? Like I almost feel like, but what else am I supposed to do? Like there's people that need this, so I can't not be here to help them.
I see this because it's such a tough job. I see very few people actually being able to do this. The reason for that is, from my perspective, is you need to have the deepest level of empathy, and a lot of people do. But also you need to have strength to keep doing this day after day after day without actually impacting you personally, because uh, I don't think I can do it. I might have empathy to be able to get in and understand and try to help people, but I'm not too sure I can do it more than a week or a month. And so that makes you pretty unique. That's what I was coming to.
Well, from what I can tell, Fasa, you would certainly be an empathetic ear, and I'm sure you're a good friend and colleague and support to all the people in your life. The layman, too, is an important part of this system. Family, friends, neighbors, religious institutions, people at the gym, people at the club, on the golf course, right? We all, we all support each other, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. And we don't go into this thinking only the helpers are making a difference. We're all sort of helping each other.
Yep, 100%. And thank you for making me appreciate that more. Okay. My questions are a little bit more focused on CBC. So you have scaled CBC programs from serving hundreds to thousands. Could you describe CBC's core offerings and what differentiates them in the behavioral health space?
Coordinated Behavioral Care, we call it CBC, is an organization we started in 2011. It began as an organization to support other community-based nonprofits, primarily in New York City. The goal was to have a centralized hub where we can advocate and negotiate for our network, which is now over 70 nonprofit organizations. And another part of the organization and business is to bring programs, to really operationalize new types of programs, innovative, forward-thinking programs in the behavioral health field. And CBC would act as the administrative arm, and the organizations that represent our network provide the direct care. So over the years, and particularly the programs that I've had the privilege of supporting, the two larger ones are Pathway Home and Safe Option Support, also known as us. And those are programs that target individuals with serious mental health conditions, pretty complex needs, and those that are dealing with homelessness. And so our role is to bring together the thought leaders, think about what a program would look like, build it up together from scratch until a full functioning program that can take years sometimes, and everything that entails, and much of the administrative functions like access to care, referral and intake, marketing, electronic health records and technology, data and reporting, quality improvement is centralized at CBC, and that really allows the organizations that are providing direct care to what they do best, which is provide the services.
So you are bringing thought leaders who are also directly are thought leaders in providing care to the patient. So basically the organizations who are partnered with you have access to this expertise as well, right?
Yeah, CBC brings together the leadership at the network organizations, middle management, and the direct care workers. There's opportunities for really everyone to get involved and to provide their feedback and to offer their recommendations, share their challenges, celebrate their successes. And so we have different opportunities, sometimes learning communities where people come together for different types of conversations. And it's probably unique in at least the behavioral health field for such a diverse group that, they're part of different organizations, but to get together centrally and work towards a common goal. I think everyone really has, they come from different places and have different expertise or diverse experiences, and to together share that with each other and be better together is perhaps really unique. Another thing that we've been really focused on more recently is expanding that circle of who we work with and really trying to partner with other systems, entities, organizations, governments, sometimes entities that we don't typically even think of being part of behavioral health, but inviting them to the table with us, or they invite us in return to their table to have some really meaningful, productive conversations. Maybe going back to, we're all in this together as a community, as a broader New York City community, to really help our neighbors and our community to get the care and help and support that they need.
Yeah, I was about to say that there is a theme here, community, and community, I guess, goes with being coordinated as well. So you need that mentality first that, hey, we are a community, we are all into this, in this together. And you also said celebrate together. So any celebration, any achievement that comes to your mind when you think about CBC, yes, this was something that was really good. Some story, something that was very close to you and meant a lot to you personally.
I think as a city, one of the real concerns that we've had over many decades, but particularly over the last few years, is around the many individuals we all see that are homeless on our transit systems, in the terminals, on the subways, and particularly after COVID, when many of us were returning back to in-person work and starting to use public transportation again, we observed that the subway system and the terminals were really being used by many individuals for their dwelling. place. And, we were observing this and concerned for the well-being of these individuals. It's not at all acceptable that this is their home. And also for public safety purposes, we want to make sure that when people use the transportation system, it's comfortable and safe. 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, with the state came to us and asked us to start this program called Safe Option Support that really was targeting this population, particularly the chronic homeless in New York City. So those that may have been on the streets for many years, sometimes even decades. And the SOS teams are 24/7, 365, outreaching individuals wherever they are. And what's really amazing is they help people get into shelter. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time because, there's barriers, systemic barriers, but also the individuals come with lots of experience that makes it slow sometimes for them to accept the help. And then they help them get into permanent housing. So they are there to help them whenever they're ready to go into shelter, and then help them apply and move into permanent housing, and then stay with them for about 9 months after they move. Because one of the things that we know about this population is that even when they get into housing, there's still barriers and challenges that exist. If they've been on the street for years, they are not used to paying their bills, taking care of an apartment and cleaning, being a good neighbor and tenant. A lot of them struggle with loneliness. They had a support system, believe it or not, on the streets, that now they're in another place in an apartment by themselves. And that's actually surprising to people, but it is really difficult to be without your people. And so we sort of help in all those areas to ensure that the placement sticks. And what I'm really proud of is that we've now placed over 2,500 individuals from the street into shelter, and 800 individuals have moved into permanent housing. That's a really special number, and that's in the course of just 3 years.
That's fascinating. And yes, I was 100% surprised about not seeing the fact that they already have a community, even though they are homeless. And for two reasons, they might want to go back, because they want to go back to the community or to help the person they were helping, and they're worried that they have left them alone and they have a better life now. It could be both things. And for humans, it could drive them to go back and be where they were. And I had completely missed that fact. So is there a thought process where you are moving people as a community rather than individuals?
Exactly right. We use the term formal supports and informal supports. The formal supports are the doctors, the therapists, psychiatrists, the programs, typically the people that get paid to do what they do. They're still helpers, but they're paid. And then they're the informal supports. Like these are all the neighbor, the community, the faith institutions, the people at the clubhouses. We've seen really creative ways that individuals are supported. The pharmacists, bodega, cashier, the bank teller. I've seen over the years how they've all really stepped up. And people that I didn't even imagine would step up to help support their neighbors. And sometimes we try to intentionally create those connections, and sometimes they just happen quite naturally.
That's fascinating, so that they come into a support system rather than treatment system. So there is informal and formal. Going on to the challenges with CBC, I'm sure you have tons of challenges and you're also expanding. Where does the resistance come from, and what kind of challenges do you face?
CBC has certainly grown year over year. It's been able to add on new programs, capture new funding for our network, innovate with all sorts of new ideas, whether it's partnerships or technology. I think one challenge that has concerned me is the sort of nature that we as a system fund programs. So what I see often is that a program gets funded, and maybe that funding lasts for a certain amount of years. And even if the money is going to a good place and the program is really thriving and helping a lot of people, for whatever reason, the funding no longer exists, or it's taken back or used for something else. And when a program closes, you have all the individuals that were being served. You also have all the staff that now have to go find other jobs. So the staff are ping-ponging from one setting or one role to another.
One funding to the other funding, essentially.
Yeah, and that's really disruptive for everyone, right? And certainly the people being served that need the services, that need the programs, are the ones that really suffer as a result because now they don't have access to the staff, to the people they built relationships to. And then what happens, right? They take from here and they say, oh no, like there needs to be services for this area, and then they fund it over there. And maybe the staff go over there, and it becomes pretty disruptive because you have funding, then it's taken back and over again. And a lot of the times I see it might be the same type of program or very similar type of program. And I think that as a system, we just need to get comfortable with kind of sticking to what we have. And if there's an opportunity for improvement, let's invest to improve those programs and the staff that already exist. It can be also really confusing for external entities, right? If you're going to be working with a program, there's a new name, there's new staff, and I have to learn a new referral process and a new way to partner. And I think as a system, we have to find a better way of really committing to the things that we know.
Yeah, it's as I said earlier, it is not a short-term treatment program. Sometimes it takes 9 months of working with the individual, and a lot of individuals who just got into the program 4 months later, you say bye-bye. It's like, hey, I can't support you anymore. That's definitely not optimal. But as a CBC, because you work with so many fundings and so many organizations, you also help in aligning these movements and making sure that people are aware what's going on here and trying to keep those relationships intact as long as possible. Does CBC play a role in that as well?
We've had lots of conversations with these funding agencies that even recognize, yeah, this is a really valuable program. Unfortunately, the funding is going to, end. They see the outcomes, they see the benefits. And sometimes from the very beginning, it's just, it's run its course. Sometimes it's in existence and there's a decision being made because they want to focus on something else. And for whatever reason it is, it's challenging, and we certainly try to work with all the different partners and entities and government and funding sources to really understand what it is that we do, how we're making an impact. And I think, it's taught us how valuable and important it is to really invest in telling the story of these programs, both the narratives and also the data. We've therefore invested in the technology to be able to share that data in a way that's coherent, comprehensible, that anyone can really look at it and understand, and also share the personal stories of individuals that have been helped. And hopefully that will really influence our future decision makers to invest in the programs that are pretty clearly helping those that are some of the people most in need, most vulnerable, and who's more vulnerable than the homeless population that's going through a mental health crisis. So hopefully we'll see more commitment in the long term.
And the people who are impacted are the position of not influencing the policies at all. Zero influence on the policies. And that makes it even more difficult to make the right decision.
Those that are service recipients, do they have a seat at the table? Who's asking them what services to prop up? Who's asking them what help them when they do recover? I'm not sure the answer to that. Maybe I can be optimistic and believe that someone is consulting with them, even if I haven't seen it myself.
Changing gears a little bit, looking into the future, there is a lot of evolution in technology and ability to do things differently. And people are in a mindset for change. As a leader who has your own private practice and also are working in this community-oriented CBC organization, where do you think we are headed? Perhaps in 1 year or 5 years, can we do to leverage the changes for our betterment of our community?
Technology is no longer an add-on. It's like a foundational part of everything that we do. And so I've been really interested in having a seat at the table when it comes to utilizing technology. I want to always ensure that we're piloting new systems, apps, whatever the technology is, that we're involved, we know what it is, and that we try it out. That allows us to give the feedback, to make the appropriate updates so that it really fulfills. And this is an important point. Like technology has to fulfill a need, right? And sometimes someone has a really good idea, but it doesn't fulfill a need. Like no one actually is asking for this, or it's not solving for anything, and so no one really adopts the new shiny thing, right? So it has to start from what are the needs of the workforce and the population. I think there's a lot of really important things happening around EHRs, data and reporting. We're seeing a lot more stronger systems, integrations being created, and that's all really exciting. The access to like apps on your phone also allows for more like in the moment interventions. And probably we can't talk about technology without talking about artificial intelligence. I think that's really where the conversations these days have been. I'm really interested to understand where AI is going to take us. In my private practice, I started using AI for note writing. The clients have to consent, and it's been really instrumental in one saving me a lot of time from writing notes. I also, I've been surprised by this. I'm a better clinician because of a few things, right? One, when I'm with an individual, the main thing that's going to help them is my presence and that they have my attention. If I'm in the back of my head thinking, I got to write the note, I got to remember what they say, that might be a bit of a distraction. So it's actually helped me not feel the pressure to like, they said something really important to write it down. I can have a notebook in front of me, but I don't feel the urgency. And plus, then I have a lot more time after that I can either use to see someone else or to take care of myself. For the general workforce, I think there's a lot of interest in seeing how this plays out and integrates into the EHR systems. It'll ensure better documentation and hopefully improves staff morale. Our staff are passionate about helping people. Part of that is documentation, but it's not necessarily the goal. They're not showing up to document, they're showing up to work to help people. A few other areas that I think the technology exists, it's really about perfecting it and then implementing it, is around population health. AI can ingest lots of information and data and progress notes and care plans. And, one of the things that we do is grant writing, and you always need to like explain why this population that you're trying to target is like the right program, the right population. If we have data and information about who's the right population, then we're taking the guesswork out of it, and we're actually creating programs that target those people. I also see, I see value in like the real time AI can potentially provide. Like if I'm talking to you and you say something but we get distracted and we talk about other things and I forget to go back, like something pops up on my screen that says, don't forget to talk to Fasa about this thing, like that would be really valuable. Or like maybe you said something that's like serious, like maybe like indicates like self-harm, I missed it, right? The AI might be able to pick it up and say, hey, you might have missed this, shows up on my screen and allows me to kind of go back to that. And then I think there's probably a lot of use cases, but the other one that I've seen is around quality improvements. So to be able to myself or together with my supervisor analyze, how did I do? Did I say the right things at the right moments? And being able to create some logic or prompts for the AI to like actually give me feedback, right? For the purpose of making me a better clinician, better provider. I think that shows a lot of promise. The challenge with technology is always, how do you go from an idea to staff buy-in to then utilizing this in a meaningful and integrated way? And so we'll see how the next, I wanted to say a few years, but maybe months. And we'll simultaneously grappling the ethical considerations of AI and technology. I'm pretty I feel strongly that AI will not replace the human-to-human interaction. And I said that, I chose my words. Not that it should not, but it will not. Because ultimately, I think even though I hear that a lot of people are using AI as like their therapists, I think that nothing can really replace. If you really understand how therapy and mental health work, AI can just isn't able to do those things and feel the emotions and relate to another person. They might say the right thing, but I can say something to you and you feel really good about it, and I can say something and you don't feel good about it. It's how I say it. And everything that my body language and tone and prosody and the relationship goes into that. To answer in a very lengthy way, I'm very excited about the current technology and where it's going, with some good caution about making sure we do this responsibly and ethically.
100%. And you said with your clinical practice, you do use AI that allows you to do two other things better, take care of yourself, and spend more time with the patients. I think equally important. And I think that's where the value of AI is, not actually replacing those two things. It's like more of those two things. And the second part just made me think a lot about this as you were speaking was it's not going to take away the relationship. It's just going to make these relationships that much more valuable. The AI will be able to say the correct things, but the fact that it is going to say the correct things all the time may not be something that the person is looking for. It is, I think in the relationship, it is the shortcomings of the person in front of you is more endearing than all the strengths, all the perfection in front of you. I think in the relationship, we might tend to miss that little nuance that it's the imperfections at the end you fall in love with. Why is my mom's cooking the best for me? I think it's the imperfections in her cooking that makes it that much more endearing to me.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I completely agree with that. That's very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, this is was my mind was racing in that direction. Thank you very much for expanding my results a little bit. Um, as this is from a different perspective, you as a leader, you as a entrepreneur, what is your advice for the new leaders and entrepreneurs getting into this field?
Yeah, I think something that is actually kind of builds off what you just said about, the imperfections are endearing is it reminded me of Carl Rogers, who's a really important theorist in the psychotherapy world. And he has a quote that I read many years ago, but I think it just, when you were talking, it just kind of reminded me. And he says that when you look at a sunset, you don't say, oh, it can be a little bit more orange over here, like a little bit more yellow over there. Like it's a sunset. It's like perfect and beautiful and awe-inspiring just the way it is. And there's someone, her name is Dr. Erica Brown, who says, be impatient with outcomes, be patient with people. That's like, at one point I put that on my whiteboard because it's so important that when we're in front of a person, there's a human being in front of us and they have a unique set of challenges, not cookie cutter. And there is something really special and hopeful about this person. And I think we need to allow for that flexibility and care and just allow both the providers actually and the clients to really be themselves. And naturally, organically, good things will come out of that. We'll get the outcomes eventually. And so I think we need to be a little bit more comfortable with looking at the long term. A lot of the focus I find to be like short term, right? And the short term, I mean, for us, like when we're dealing with serious mental health concerns, we're really talking about like readmissions. Someone gets hospitalized, medicated and treated, sent out, readmitted, and it's really chaotic. And even if we add a 7-day follow-up appointment or filling their meds or whatever measure we want to look at that demonstrates they're fulfilling their or engaging in what they're supposed to engage in, it's still part of the same chaotic revolving door that we always complain about. And so I really would suggest that the more we learn, the more we have to allow for things to just sort of using the tools and techniques and theories and interventions we know work. Give it some time, things will work out and we'll get the outcomes we desire.
If you want to reiterate anything, the question is yours, the answer is yours, the stage is yours.
At CBC, we're always interested in learning from other entities, whether you're local to New York City or in another state or another country. We're always interested in connecting and learning and understanding how we can get better, and maybe we can contribute something to the work you're doing. We really value partnerships at CBC, and we're always looking to engage others that are involved in the behavioral health space, and maybe others that are involved in behavioral space but they're not behavioral health, like New York transit workers and entities. They're constantly dealing with behavioral health, even though their job is to help us get from place to place, or our public safety and law enforcement. So reach out to us and let's see how we can find ways to work together and support each other in this work, which is complex and imperfect, but we'll be better together. And for those that are interested in learning more about my private practice, can find me online and reach out, and I'm happy to talk more to see how I can help.
And with that, thank you very much. And with that, we come to an end to the podcast.
Thank you, Fasa. It was really great talking with you, and I really enjoyed our time together.